With things going from bad to worse for Chelsea and Lampard this week, today I'm taking a look at 5 players needed to save Chelsea. Recently, we have seen Chelsea splashing the cash for some of the most in-demand players across the European leagues. So why not carry on the tradition and spend on Erling Haaland, who comes in at number 5. There is no doubt that Haaland is an absolute talent who has it all: clinical finishing, power, pace, technique. And since his arrival in Germany in January 2020, he has managed 35 goals in 36 appearances, which I think speaks volumes. And a player with so much talent is bound to be in high demand and will not come cheap. We've got Juventus, PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, both Manchester clubs, pretty much every big club across Europe that has been linked with Haaland. So it's not going to be easy for Chelsea, but although they do have a few attacking options up front already, they do need some goals. Looking at the Premier League so far, Chelsea have 5 draws already. Now, if they would have had a player like Haaland who has a little bit more precision in front of goal, maybe those results wouldn't have ended in 1 point each, but 3 points each for Lampard and his men. Who knows? But there is one non-negotiable that will come with Haaland if Chelsea want him, and that is Champions League football. I can't really see Haaland making the move to London for Europa League football. Now, at the moment, Chelsea are currently in 8th position in the Premier League at the point of filming, and if they want Haaland, they are going to have to prove that they are not only in the mix for the Premier League trophy, but those 4 Champions League spots as well. Many do believe that Haaland could be the player to take Chelsea to the next level, and I don't disagree with this at all, but the reason he's coming in at number 5 for me is because if Chelsea don't manage to sign him, they do still have some attacking options. Tammy Abraham is a player that certainly does have some promise. Olivier Giroud probably won't be around much longer as his contract does expire in the summer, but the likes of Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz could also add to the goal tally. That's if Kai Havertz does manage to find his feet. And of course, there is Timo Vernon. Now, we have seen him switch it on at Leipzig. We haven't seen him bring the same quality of football to Stamford Bridge just yet. And I can understand why people are getting impatient, but there is still time for Timo Werner to come good. Now, my only argument is that if Havertz and Werner, 2 of the biggest names in European football right now, if they have struggled with the transition to London and to Premier League football, who's to say that Haaland won't have the same issue as well? Now, you could argue that Haaland is in a different league, a different category. Fair enough if that's what you think, but I do think that Chelsea need to be careful spending even more money on another attacking option when there are other areas of the pitch that they really need to improve. Before I get on to who is coming in at number 4, do not forget that if you are enjoying all of the content here at OneFootball, hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on so that you will then know whenever we drop a new video. At number 4, it is Luigi Donnarumma. Now, I know goalkeepers are a little bit of a touchy subject for Chelsea, and this player is an AC Milan player at the moment, but his contract does expire in the summer. I know there is talk of him sitting down with AC Milan and having some contract negotiations, but at the point of filming, no contract has been signed. So who's to say that Chelsea shouldn't try and swoop in and get this goalkeeper, as he would certainly be one of their cheaper signings. Now, the Kepa saga is finally well and truly over. I think the less said about that, the better. And obviously, Chelsea brought in Edouard Mendy, who has been really good for the team, although he has had a few shaky moments. But I think we can all agree he has definitely been better than Kepa. However, who could blame Chelsea for wanting to sign 21-year-old Donnarumma? He has been a vital cog in the AC Milan machine. As they currently sit at the top of Serie A, he is such an important player for that club. The only issue is the Italian's agent is Mino Raiola, so safe to say there have been a lot of rumours, a lot of mind games, a few social media posts kind of fanning the flames of a transfer request. But if he is serious about making a move, then Chelsea should certainly be considering the youngster. Looking at the current goalkeepers at Chelsea, we've got Petr Cech, legend, don't get me wrong, but he came in as a bit of an emergency with COVID, so he can definitely go. We've got 39-year-old Willy Caballero and Kepa. If we got rid of all 3 of those players, we got Donnarumma in and put him as number 1 goalkeeper with Edouard Mendy as second choice, then that means that Chelsea would have 2 really great options in goal. At number 3, it is Declan Rice. Now, there is no denying that he has become a vital part of West Ham's starting 11, and there's no denying that Chelsea have been linked with him for quite a while now, along with some other big clubs. He's a very talented player with great consistency for his age, who won't settle for less than what he has now, which is playing week in, week out, especially with regards to his future with England. At the time of recording, West Ham have had a great season so far, and they are actually sat above Chelsea in the Premier League, but let's be honest, West Ham aren't normally the club that are in the mix for Premier League trophies and Champions League positions. And this is one thing that Declan Rice should really be considering if he does want to make the move to a bigger club, as despite Chelsea's struggles at the moment, they are normally in the mix at the top of the table. The 22-year-old normally plays as West Ham's deepest midfielder, and although Frank Lampard normally plays with the trio of midfielders that normally include N'Golo Kante, Mateo Kovacic, Mason Mount and Jorginho, there could still be room for Rice. Now, it's normally Kante or Jorginho that play as the deepest midfielder. But with Jorginho rumoured with a move away from time to time, and actual talk of Chelsea being willing to let Kante go despite his undeniable talent, Rice could be a good option. One of the reasons why Rice would be such a great addition for Chelsea is that, unlike some of the other players that they've brought in recently, he already knows the Premier League really well, as he's already playing in it week in, week out. He already knows the city really well, and what this means is that Chelsea will have a little bit more of a better understanding of knowing exactly what they are getting for their money. What Rice would give Lampard is the opportunity to have a two-man holding midfield with Kante if he stays, or another player, and also he could just play on his own. He would be such a great addition, especially with the amount of competitions that Chelsea are playing in. They really need that squad depth and rotation. However, would Rice be happy maybe sitting on the bench for the odd game or two? I'm not too sure. In at number 2, it is Dayot Upamecano. Now, Upamecano is one of the most in-demand defenders across the European leagues, and he's pretty much been linked with every single club that has defensive issues. At just 22 years of age, he has so much potential and he's already really flourishing. Now, allegedly Bayern Munich do want his signature, but if you're looking at Premier League clubs, it seems like Chelsea are the front runners to get him to sign on the dotted line. Now, it is no secret that Chelsea did a lot of shopping for attacking players over the summer, so the fact that they would want to shop in the defensive aisle makes a lot of sense. Upamecano would be another high-profile signing for them and would certainly provide some much-needed strength in that back four. Looking at who Chelsea already have in the centre-back position, it looks like they are already making way for some new defensive resources, as they've recently agreed on a loan out for Fikayo Tomori to AC Milan with the option to buy at £30 million. Then you've got Antonio Rudiger, who is constantly being rumoured with a transfer away. You've got Thiago Silva, who is 36 and has a contract that will be expiring this summer. And the way things are going, you couldn't really blame him if at 36 he did want to move on to somewhere else, as it's not like he's willing to put in a lot of time and effort to work with a squad to end up with cup glory in a few seasons' time. He probably wants success fast. And then that leaves you with Kurt Zouma and Andreas Christensen. I personally could see Upamecano and Zouma pairing up together. Now, Zouma's probably been one of the more impressive centre-backs for Chelsea so far. He's actually already got 4 goals to his name. What this would then mean is, depending on Tomori's situation, him and Christian could pair up as another pair of centre-backs that then could be used for squad depth and rotation and any other young players that are coming through Chelsea's ranks. If Chelsea do manage to sign Upamecano, it would be a massive move, as they would then finally have a strong, reliable back four that would surely help ease some of Chelsea's current issues. And finally, number 1. Now, I haven't actually gone with a specific player, don't get me wrong, the 4 other players that I picked would all be brilliant signings, but no signings in the world are going to save Chelsea if they do not iron out the massive issue that they have got, and that's the managerial situation. They need some clarity on who is going to be at the helm at Stamford Bridge if they have any chance of saving themselves. So they've got 2 options. They either stick with Frank Lampard or they bring in a new manager. Now, speaking of new managers, Matt has already looked at 7 managers that could be in the mix for the Chelsea job, and you can check that video out somewhere above my head right now. So option number 1 is Frank Lampard. Don't get me wrong, a phenomenal player for Chelsea, but it has not been plain sailing as manager. Now, I think when he came in, he was a really popular choice. Fans were pretty happy. I think if you're managing a club where you are a legend, it probably helps quite a lot. Now, Roman Abramovich, he normally tends to go for the biggest or the most talked about manager at that point. That's who he normally goes for. And it's normally somebody pretty experienced. So going for an inexperienced manager that's only really managed a championship side, I guess in that sense it was a little bit of a shock, but it was Lampard, legend at Chelsea, everyone just rolled with it. Now, it was understood that Lampard would be given a little bit of time at Chelsea, and after his first season in the 2019-20 campaign, things on paper were looking pretty positive. They finished 4th, they made some excellent signings, so everyone expected that Chelsea's starting 11 would be absolutely unplayable and that they'd certainly be in the mix at the top of the table, and that hasn't really happened. Lampard himself has pretty much come out and said that he cannot get the best out of these players. Now, if you can't get the best out of these players, surely he needs to step aside and let another manager come in that can. I think Chelsea have a massive decision to make here. They either turn around and they back Lampard publicly, they give him the time that they allegedly promised him in the beginning, they accept that he's going to make mistakes, they give him a chance to try and get these players to gel and get some good results, or they get rid and they get a new manager. The rumours circulating state that the powers that be at Chelsea want an experienced manager. Makes sense, they're not really going to go for another inexperienced manager after Frank Lampard, and they want a German-speaking manager that has vision, identity and tactical philosophy. The language preference is reportedly because of Timo Vernon and Kai Havertz. It's a way to get them to work better and get the best out of them, but both players do actually have an understanding of English, so I'm not too sure about that one. Reportedly, the real reason is that if they have a German-speaking manager, this person will probably have a good understanding of the Bundesliga, or perhaps they've managed in the Bundesliga, and Chelsea like the idea of the tactical education that comes with having experience in that league. One name that really resonates with this is Ralf Ragnet. He managed RB Leipzig and was head of development at Red Bull until recently, and is considered one of the most influential coaches in the game, and he has influenced the likes of Thomas Tuchel and Julian Nagelsmann, who are also both in the mix. Now, the thing with Tuchel, he's apparently a little bit further down the list because he does have a history of clashing with upper management. What this does mean is that Nagelsmann could really have a shot at getting this Chelsea job. Now, his 18 months coaching RB Leipzig, Frank Lampard's 18 months coaching Chelsea, they are very different, I'll be honest. So Nagelsmann took RB Leipzig to a Champions League semi-final last season, and they're currently second in the Bundesliga and are really in the mix for that title. He managed to get the best out of Timo Vernon. He's currently getting the best out of Upamecano. I mean, at this rate, Roman Abramovich may as well just move the entire Leipzig team and the backroom staff to London and have done with it. Whichever path that Chelsea go down, whether they bring in Nagelsmann and the entire RB Leipzig team, whether they stick with Lampard, it remains to be seen. But if they want to save this club, they need to act fast. So those are my top 5 players or changes at Chelsea that are needed to save the club. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Make sure you check out all the other content we've got here at OneFootball. And until next time, I will see you guys later.